let's kick it off as we generally do. We'll, oh, it's Christy. Wait for her to log in, then we'll, good evening, Christy. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance as we generally do, if you'll join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, Benny Wheat reached out to us through Brian, I don't know, some weeks ago, and asked for some impressions from the board on the flag policy that was before the town council a few weeks ago. And I just thought it was more appropriate that she come to the board rather than having individuals express opinions offline, things like that. So Benny, if you wouldn't mind, the floor is yours. I know you have another meeting to get to at 7. I noticed also that you had a letter to the editor in the item tonight. For those of you who don't get the item, it would be worth reading. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for being willing to have me. I'm really glad that we were able to make this happen. So just quick background first on the flag policy and why I'm coming to you and what's going on. So 2 or 3 years ago, the Human Rights Commission and the town council collaborated to formulate a flag policy for the town that would provide opportunities to raise, it came up originally in the context of the Pride flag, and now has also been applied to the Juneteenth flag. So give opportunities to raise those flags while still protecting the town from any risk that they might be exposed to in terms of having to raise like flags that might go against the town's values or something like that. There had been some concern that predates me. I don't totally know the context for it, that had to do with some kind of like white supremacist flag request or something. Anyway, so the town wanted to be like to express, openness and acceptance towards LGBTQ residents, but without opening themselves up to undue risk. And so they made this flag policy that created an opportunity to fly those flags under certain specific circumstances. And so the original flag policy, the circumstances were that if a town body or town department or a special type of nonprofit that is specifically their mission is to support a town body, for example, the Friends of the BB or something like that. So if one of those types of entities has a town sanctioned event that is held at the AmeriCall Civic Center, then they can request to the town council to raise a flag in conjunction with that event. So what we did a couple of years ago was we had a Pride event at the AmeriCall Civic Center. We raised the Pride flag, and so that has been good. The feedback that we've gotten from residents of the town has been positive around that, with the only downside being that the flagpole at the AmeriCall Civic Center in June is significantly obstructed by a very beautiful big tree. So you can't actually really see it very easily. So unless you know that it's there, raising any flag at that flagpole is fairly like unnoticeable. And so, we would get emails or we would get phone calls from folks in town being like, I wish Wakefield raised the Pride flag. And we'd be like, we do, it's at the AmeriCall Civic Center. And so partially in response to that, and then partially in response to the fact that with Juneteenth now as a holiday that is, it's a national holiday and also one that we would love to be celebrating more visibly, there just happens to be a conflict logistically because Juneteenth is in June and Pride is in June also. So what we did last year is we raised the Pride flag at the AmeriCall Civic Center on June 1st. And then when Juneteenth was approaching, we lowered the pride flag and raised the Juneteenth flag, left that up for a week. And then we lowered the Juneteenth flag and raised the pride flag again for the remainder of June, which is fine, but it's sort of logistically like non-ideal. So because of those two things, the visibility and the logistics, we approached the town council to see about, are there other flagpoles in town that we could use to increase visibility and relieve this, like the fact that we could only use one flagpole, even though we had two flags that we were trying to raise during the course of 1 month. So my original ask to the town council around this was to make like 2 or 3 edits to the flag policy. One, that we be allowed to use more flagpoles than just the one at AmeriCall Civic Center, and 2, that it be expanded to include like all the sort of like protections that are in place with this flag policy would remain the same, but expanding it slightly to instead of only events that are taking place at the AmeriCall Civic Center, it could be events taking place at other public locations in town. So those were the 2 edits that we're hoping to get passed. And when I brought this before the town council, the ask that I was thinking of was, the flagpole at Town Hall and the flagpole at Betts Memorial Field. In my ignorance, I had not realized that those flagpoles, at least much of the time, also have the POW MIA flag. So I knew that the one at the Lower Common certainly always has that, and that was not included as any part of the amendments that we were asking for. But so then when I realized that this could potentially, you can't fly 3 flags on the same flagpole. So in order to put up one of these flags on a flagpole that has the MIA POW flag, it would require taking down that flag. And so like that really does not align with our intention in terms of what we hope to achieve by flying the pride flag, which is, you know, celebrating and including all of our residents and not like excluding or disrespecting veterans in the process of doing that. So I wanted to come to you all and kind of, first of all, just like generally hear any feedback or thoughts you have about the proposed changes, and also to hear in particular about ideas, brainstorm, any kind of stuff about in terms of what flagpoles seem like would be most appropriate in terms of not interfering with the MIA POW flag. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have questions, but I figure I'll leave it there and see what you all think.
I certainly appreciate you reaching out, and certainly open the floor to the rest of the board, see if anyone has any opinions. Because one of the things that if we find in these meetings, Benny, is I talk entirely too much. And since this is my last meeting before I leave the board and move on to the back 19 of my life, I don't want to monopolize the chatter more than possible. David?
Well, Paul has he's been doing a lot of work, a lot of researching on the bylaws and the national governmental positions on the flag, and I think he has something to say here. Paul?
You have to unmute, Paul.
Yeah, I'm working on it, Jay. Thank you very much. First of all, Benny, just a little history here. Number one, I'm a former commissioned officer in the United States Army. I still maintain my commission because I get a benefit. So I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. What you are doing is resembles a trait that we have in the United States Army called personal courage. And it is absolutely your right. And I want to share with you the note that I sent to Tom Mullen, okay, about this matter. So I said, Tom, as you know, there's nearly 3 centuries of laws that pertain to the display of flags, specifically the American flag. And at the March 28 town meeting, Benny Wheat submitted a request seeking to fly the rainbow flag and a Juneteenth flag on the same halyard as the American flag flown on public property. And her request, as well as the town committee or town council reply, lacked the information that was needed at the moment to make an informed and legal decision, which was completely understandable. The Human Rights Committee has every right to submit this request to fly the rainbow flag and the Juneteenth flags. And I would submit that the public outdoor halyards that fly the American flag and the POW and the MIA flag be limited to these two flags. All other flags, to include state flags, the rainbow flags, Juneteenth flags, ought to be flown on separate halyards outdoors. And I seek the town council's support to review public laws below that I've listed, and I'll read them to you, to help form the compliance that we need to honor the Human Rights Council's request while remaining in compliance with the existing laws. And there are many options that I want to present to fly banners and flags that remain open to the Human Rights Committee. And some of those examples are the gazebo at the Upper Common. There's a flagpole on top of the gazebo. Those that have flagpoles on private property are open to you if they say that it's okay to fly the flag. Business properties in town may agree also to fly the flag for you. The banner that goes across Main Street is a perfect opportunity for the Human Rights Committee. The banners on Main Street lampposts are also an opportunity to post something and fly something. Banners at the Civic Center that are below the tree line, where you can see them out front. And there are, I'm almost certain there are several other locations that we can probably come up with to help you out. Sources for code and sources for the American laws are embedded as recently as 2019 for the POW and the MIA flag. And I just want to read, there's 3 or 4 different sources for public law. The 36 US Code, Statute 902, the National League of Families and POW MIA flags. There's also the Public Law 101-355, 36 US Code Section 902 that was passed in 2019. This was a bipartisan act at the federal level that governed how we fly the POW and the MIA flag to honor the 82,000 that have yet to be recovered. I also took an opportunity to dig into my officer's manual, and it pointed me to a public law that dates back, and you'll appreciate this, Public Law 829 to the 77th Congress. It was amended by Public Law 344 of the 94th Congress. The law that was recently passed in 2019 basically says, displaying the POW and the MIA flag, Congress has designated the 3rd Friday of September as National POW Recognition Day and ordered the prominent display of the POW MIA flag on this day and several other national observances, including Armed Forces Day, Memorial Day, Flag Day, Independence Day, Veterans Day. The 1998 Defense Authorization Act, which is Public Law 105-85, mandates that on these national observances, the POW MIA flag is to be flown over the White House, over the US Capitol, the Korean Vietnam War memorials, and the offices of the Secretaries of State the Office of Secretary of Defense, Veterans Affairs, the Office of the Director of Selective Service Systems, and every major military installation is directed by the Secretary of Defense. And every post office and all departments of Veterans Affairs, medical centers, national cemeteries. The act also directs that the VA Medical Center flies the POW, the MIA flag on any day which the flag of the United States is displayed. When displayed from a single flagpole, the POW, the MIA flag should fly directly below and be no larger than the United States flag. If on separate poles, the United States flag should always be placed to the right of the other flags. And on the 6 national observances for which Congress has ordered the display of the POW and the MIA flag as it is generally flown immediately below or adjacent to the United States flag as the second in order of precedence.
Paul,
My
if you'll
research-
excuse me, Paul, excuse me for 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Benny has a meeting to get to at 7.
Okay.
And, you know,
I got you.
I'd really like to get some other input here. So if you could kind of, you know,
I want to just offer you one final thought. We know that George Washington took command of the United States Army in 1775. He did that in Cambridge on July 3rd. He took an oath on June 15th. Prior to that, Congress said, we need an army. And the soldiers of the United States Army took an oath to serve and defend the Constitution of the United States that we had at the time. Actually, it was the Declaration of Independence. Without the commission of General Washington, we would never have had the commission of General Gordon Granger. General Gordon Granger was a Union Army soldier who declared General Order Number 3 in the state of Texas that basically said to the service members and the soldiers at the time that all men are free. And it was that date on June 19th in 1865 that the Juneteenth flag and the Juneteenth event is to be celebrated. What I'm asking for your help with is that the Human Rights Committee point to June 14, which is Flag Day, because none of us would be here without it. And that's also the day, that's the birthday of the United States Army. Neither June 14 or the birthday of the United States Army was mentioned in your note today in the item. We can't have these honors without those recognitions. Jay, back to you.
thank you, sir. Anyone else have any comments?
I have just one. I'll go ahead, Marion. I'm sorry.
Well, Vinny, I just, I listened to a couple of your meetings, and I just, I also wrote a note that's going to the town council. And in that note, I prefaced it with, because I want you to know where I'm coming from. Excuse me. My husband was in the Navy. He served in Vietnam, died due to causes of Agent Orange. Was very proud of his service and actually volunteered to go to Vietnam. And also, I am the mother of a binary child who was married to a lovely woman. My daughter-in-law is gay, and I am fully in tune to the LGBTQIA community. So there's nothing coming from me that is against that, because it's my family and I love them all, and I understand it because I've learned, because that's what you do. And of course, I never was involved with the army, none of my family, to my knowledge, in the practice of slavery that went throughout this world. It was a horrible thing then, and it's unfortunately still happening now. But I wanted to preface that so you know where I'm coming from. I do not feel that any flag other than the POW MIA flag belongs flying with the American flag. The American flag encompasses not just those that gave their life on the battlefield for this country, but those that are still giving their lives due to that service. And it honors them. And also the POW MIA flag that flies beneath it honors them as well. My question to you is, why could you have not, found out more about the laws and then gone to the town council and requested, could we have a new flagpole, another flagpole put up, either put up on the common? I truthfully don't believe it belongs down at Veterans Field, but at other places on the common, if you wanted it at the town, it's not big money to put up another flagpole. It could be flown next to an American flag, just lower as is required. And I just don't understand why you feel the need to fly these two flags along with the American flag. And I think they're both very important. 100% behind you, 100% to be able to fly them. I just think if you had dug further into options, we wouldn't have gotten to this point. Raising another pole, a flagpole or two or three, whatever, in this town is not a big expense, and it's easily done and can be done between now and June, if okay by the town council.
Yeah, that's a great couple of questions. First of all, I'll say that we have no particular need or desire to fly it under the American flag. It's not like this must be flown on the same flagpole. We were just looking to fly it on a flagpole. And since, most flagpoles in town have the American flag on it. And I will certainly say that I was ignorant of the laws and practices around what should or shouldn't be flown along with the American flag. So I really appreciate, Paul, the information that you were just sharing. And several people have written to the item and written to the town council with information about that, which has been eye-opening to me. So I'm sorry that I didn't, like you said, dig deeper into that. I also had a pretty extensive conversation with Tom Mullen about it, about the flag policy, the town's flag policy, and what might be possible and what would be legally advisable in terms of revising it. And I didn't ask, are there legal concerns about flying other flags there? He didn't mention any. So I suppose I was sort of being overly reliant on him to inform me, but I certainly should have looked into it more. And when I was asking the town council about this a couple of weeks ago, when I brought the proposal up, I can't remember who it was, but there was one of the town councilors said, or maybe we could put up another flagpole, so I think that there's, it didn't seem like that was an idea that, it seems like there could be purchase for that idea, so, and I was on the bus on the way home today that goes through, Melrose, and I was looking around, now I'm looking at every flagpole that I see everywhere. And Melrose has what you're describing. They have in front of the Melrose Town Hall, a flagpole that has the American flag and the POW MIA flag, and then another sort of empty flagpole, or actually right now it has the Ukraine flag on it. So that could be, I have no idea how much that costs. I'm happy to explore it with the town council or Mr. Mayo or whoever would be appropriate.
Benny,
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Marion, I was about to discuss the same things you brought up as having a secondary pole in place. I think that having 3 flagpoles would be a great idea. 2, of course, shorter than the center flag for the American flag. I know Paul has done some research on some flagpole designs that are available out there. There's an internment that could take place when we have these poles, I think, for not only the LGBTQ flag, as well as the Juneteenth flag, but flags of any occasion that might arise for fundraising or for concerns that might be going into the future that we have to deal with. But thank you very much. I don't want to keep you any longer. I realize you're going to a meeting. Thank you, Ben.
Well, I mean, this is my only opportunity to talk to your board. So if there's other comments, I'm happy to hear them. There's somebody else on deck with the Human Rights Commission who can start our meeting off if I'm running late. So if there's anybody else who has anything else you want to share, I would love to take the opportunity to hear you.
Anyone else have anything?
I'll just say real quickly, so Benny, first, again, thanks for reaching out at the beginning. I appreciate that. I would echo what Marion and Dave said, and I think in some ways the town should be obligated to determine that this is a flagpole issue. This is not, I agree that nothing should fly on the same pole as the US flag and the POW/MIA flag. But where those poles are put and how they get there, I think is a town decision, and the town council should look at that. And I really don't believe it's a lot of money, and it would make some sense to do that. You know, maybe along the way to Melrose does it, you know, just have it by town hall. But I don't think there's anybody on the call, and I won't speak for everybody, I'll speak for myself. You know, you serve with a lot of different people and you never really pay too much attention to any of it. Is you're just serving with them, and you know, you don't second guess anybody's values or anything else. All you want to know is that, you know, they're watching out for you and you're watching out for them. So that's what I have to say. Thanks.
Yeah, I guess, thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody. And, you know, I guess, you know, I think we would all agree that nobody on this board has anything against either flag or the reason. You know, we certainly agree that they're worthwhile causes here in town and everywhere. There are monies available. I don't know how much is in the fund, but if you recall, when you get your excise bill, there are two checkoffs. One's for the Veterans Relief Fund and one is for a Veterans Memorial type of fund. And, you know, the town council has always been very, very supportive of anything that we have gone to them for over the years. And, you know, if, you know, timing is certainly of the essence. And I have to be honest, I'm looking for the policy right now. It's
It's a
called
page
the
and
Wakefield Veterans Memorial and Patriotic Celebration Fund. So, you know, again, I don't know how much are how much is in that fund, but, you know, if we needed to find monies, I would assume that there's enough, you know, and at the risk of committing the members of the board to something else, you know, we could certainly come up with some funds for another flagpole. I agree that, you know, Melrose and a number of towns around Middleton, et cetera, have similar flag displays where they have multiple displays. Center, you know, more prominent in height and positioning is the US and POW/MIA flag. All others are, you know, lower than that, et cetera.
There might be grant money available as well if the grant folks could look into that.
Well, you know, yeah, you know, I think, you know, if, as I said earlier, you know, in one of my emails, we have a short-term and a long-term issue. You know, we're looking, June is going to be here before we know it. And I believe the flag policy calls for a 30-day comment period after the town council votes on something. And I, you know, I could be wrong, but I had the impression that unless some discussions were brought up at the March 28th town council meeting, that this motion would have passed right then and there, and there wouldn't have been a 30-day comment period, et cetera. I could be wrong. I just had that feeling in watching the meeting. But be that as it may, here we are. And we certainly appreciate your appearing, your willingness to appear, because it's, as has been noted, there's been really some, in my view, inappropriate banter, which is not unusual. I think, sometimes the message gets lost in that kind of vitriol when you cross a certain line. So, to wrap it up, I guess, we support the, if any of the board disagrees with this, feel free. This board supports the notion of having other flags displayed, just not on the same halyard as the US and POW flag. Seeing a lot of nodding, I don't know whether this is appropriate to take a motion, to move a motion forward with a public statement on the matter. We could certainly do that if we think it's appropriate.
Jay, can I just say, I just want to say to Benny, when she said that she was not aware of some of the policies and what have you, after watching the town council, who very quickly were going to vote on this, and yes, I would agree, Jay, it was going to be a yes vote. If it had been for Tom Mullen stepping in and saying, let's put this on hold, and they also did not do their homework, because had they done their homework, I'm sure there would have been much more discussion on this, instead of what looked like they were just going to rush in and say yes. And I'm very glad that Tom Mullen stepped in, but I don't want you to feel that you were the only one that didn't do your homework. There were obviously others too, but nobody on this board is against any of what you want except flying it with the American flag and POW.
Yeah.
I think
thank you
judging by the nodding heads I see on my screen, I think it looks unanimous in the board.
Yes.
Thank you for your time and your thoughts and the letters that you've written and the ideas. So as you know, I'm about to scoot over to my HRC meeting, but my plan based on this conversation and other input that we've been receiving is to go back to it's on the agenda, I think, for the
25th.
yes, whatever is the next date of the town council meeting, 25th, yes. So my plan is to reach back out to the town council to say that we would prefer not to be flying the flag below the American flag, even though, like, currently in the current town's flag policy, that is permitted. That's what we've done for the past 3 years. But to say, pending some alternative solution, putting up a new flagpole or whatever it's going to be, that we might like to find another way to fly these flags, like you were saying, Paul, either on top of the bandstand or I haven't contacted them yet, but the BB library has 2 flagpoles, one that has nothing on it right now. So that was another backup plan that somebody suggested, was we could contact the BB to see about if we could use that flagpole. So I think there's solutions, both short-term and long-term, and I really appreciate your thoughts and your feedback and your time in having me here.
And if you think it would be appropriate to have a member of this board, for instance, the new chairperson who may get selected tonight, appear at that town council meeting to perhaps put forth a unified front, if you think that's appropriate, I will gladly speak for the new chairperson, whoever that ends up being. I'm sure
Yeah, I
that
think that would be wonderful.
he or she would welcome the opportunity to appear.
Yeah, we would love the like you said, the support and the unified kind of unified stance on that. So
Yeah, the only thing the only thing that I would ask that we consider going forward is that if there is one ceremony in town on June 14th. It's for Flag Day, nothing else.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question, actually. Thank you for bringing that back up. So as of now, the date that we have penciled in for the Juneteenth flag raising is the 15th.
Correct.
And the North Shore Juneteenth
right.
Association has that date available. So that's
Mhm.
what we're aiming for. So it would not be on the 14th, but it would be immediately following that.
Yeah, I
And
think
at least
we-
last year, the ROTC, the Lynn Junior ROTC were the folks who raised the flag. They like participated in the ceremony. And I
Yeah.
don't know, the actual ceremony is not mine to tinker with. Like, it's the North Shore Juneteenth Association has like a plan for what the ceremony will entail. But I'd be interested in reaching out to them to see if there's a way to incorporate any commemoration into that moment, towards what you were speaking about, Paul, of, hearkening back towards why we even have this freedom to begin with. So if not that, then perhaps the HRC can commemorate it separately, like we do like Facebook posts and stuff for various different holidays or different events that we want to raise awareness about. So that could be an alternative plan.
Well, I want to thank you for showing up also to the Veterans Advisory Board meeting, but I do, I mean this from my heart, continue with the personal courage that you got going. I admire that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Benny.
All right. I hope you all have an excellent remainder of your meeting, and I will talk to many of you again, I'm sure.
Thank you, you too.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you, folks.
Hey, Jay, as a point of order, was that an actual, did we take a vote or we just expressed unified support?
that we didn't take a vote. I think we
Okay.
just expressed unified support for the position.
Okay.
Thank you. Next, we have the review of the March 2022 VAB meeting minutes. Well, I guess before we go on to that, does anyone have anything else they'd like to discuss on the last matter?
The only feedback I got from Councilor Tom Mullen is he's going to take this into consideration, and I think he's looking at rewriting the town policy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Brian shared the policy. Would that go to everybody, Brian?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. Yeah, I think the policy was
Well, he also recognizes that there was a law that was passed that
Yeah.
is not included in the town policy since then, so that he didn't know.
well, I certainly appreciate all of the research that you did, Paul, to kind of drive that home.
We're advisors.
Yeah, navigators, huh, Dave?
That's it.
So we have the March 15th meeting minutes that Rob put together and has sent to the committee, the board for their review. Anyone have any questions, concerns, comments about the minutes as written? Nope. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I just want to say,
Paul?
I have one point on item number 13.
Yep.
Which is the advocacy issues. There's 3 of them that are listed there.
Yep.
I met today with Congressman Seth Moulton to discuss those in person. And I also meet with Congresswoman Presley on Thursday.
Really? Okay. Very well.
And Congressman Moulton does co-sponsor the support of the Major Richard Starr Act.
Cool.
Congressman Moulton is the only representative we have that is also supporting the two acts that are before the Senate and the House to increase DIC. No other representative in Massachusetts has signed on board to support that. We're not very happy with them, but Seth Moulton has signed on to do that. He's very, very supportive.
Perfect. So I made a motion to accept the meeting, the minutes as written. All in
Second.
favor? A second. Marion, second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you very much. David, the VSO report?
VSO report, Veterans Advisory Board, on April 19th, 2022. Wakefield Veterans Monthly Food Bank will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, April 20th, and we will have a total of 22 recipients, an increase of 4 participants. The Chapter 115 program, we currently have 11 Chapter 115 participants in Wakefield. There was a cost of living increase sent from the Department of Veterans Services and the Executive Office of Health and Human Services in the form of a one-time bulk check to cover the 6-month period from January 22 through June 22. There was no confusion on the separate check, as a letter with an explanation accompanied it. We have potential for 2 additional Chapter 115 clients who have contacted my office but want to wait until the end of the month to bring in all the documents. I had a call from a homeless veteran's girlfriend who was staying with a friend. The veteran stated in a phone conversation initially that he wants no help whatsoever from the VA. I offered Chapter 115 to them once they get situated and housed. I provided them with emergency shelter for veterans at 17 Court Street, the SAVE Team, and the VASH program, along with the Veterans Northeast Outreach Center, who could assist him in getting housing. But he vehemently refused my help. I also contacted the high HRT team, which is the high risk team at the police station, and they provided them with social work assistance. I will continue to monitor this case as it progresses. We currently have 1 new aid attendance application that has been submitted with 2 more on the way. There's been an increase in veterans applying for VA benefits, spousal burial benefits, aid attendance, dependent indemnity compensations, and upgrades in compensation due to medical issues. New applications for veterans seeking assistance has increased incredibly. We have submitted 2 new annuities for 100% disabled veterans. They will be receiving the first installment in August. And the coffee social. The monthly Veterans Coffee Social was held on Saturday, April 9th at the Quannapowitt Yacht Club. And we had a guest speakers from the Room to Write program. We are hoping to have veterans enjoy the writing of their memoirs and assist them in working through some of their experiences for both historical value and ease of transition for these veterans. We also want to thank Honeydew Donuts for their continued generous contribution of the coffee and donuts to this event. The next social gathering will be on May 21st at 10 a.m., the 3rd Saturday of the month this time, as the building will not be available. Please submit any talking points to the VSO office, and I will relay them to the veterans and their families that do show up for this event. I have sent out the information about this change today, so there will be an awareness. Memorial Day, Marion Dennehy has agreed to be our guest speaker for Memorial Day. As the Gold Star chairperson, she will bring awareness to the community of the value and sacrifices so many veterans have contributed to our nation's freedom, making the ultimate sacrifice. She will bring a worthy atonement to the event. Also, Mr. John Peach will be at the event. He will be receiving the Medal of Liberty in honor of his brother Chester Peach, who was killed during World War II as a gunner on the USS Hancock in the South Pacific. Now, John's family has already received the medal here in a private ceremony, but when I called and spoke with his sister and the brother today, they were elated and very pleased that this will be taking place, and he assured us that his brother John will be there at the location. For the Roll to DC Vietnam Era Veterans Fundraising Initiative, the fundraising event at the Dockside Restaurant on March 29th went very well. We raised an additional $3,000. Checks keep coming in, and I'll be doing a mailing in the next few weeks to several businesses to continue the support for this event. We currently have 14 committed. I have 15 now. The 15th showed up today after I wrote this down. So we have our group is complete. We have 15. Any additional ones that sign up for it will be considered alternates. Here it is. At some point, we'll be more likely to take alternates in the event any of these applicants cannot make the trip in September. And once again, the Veteran Service Office continues to reach out to the community for any veterans who may need our assistance for navigating for benefits to agencies who can give them support. Please call the office for further information if needed. 781-246-6377. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. The only thing I'd say is the VASH program is VASH.
I know I spelled it. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I know
Dave, it
It's
sounds like
spell check.
sounds like you updated that a bit since the
I
one that
did.
went out this morning. So if I could have the latest version, I'd appreciate it.
I plan on doing that right after this meeting, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, David, you left something out.
Yes,
What are you doing on April 24th?
I'm going to be going to Miami, I think, for the weekend. No, actually, I have my presentation is being held at the General Patton Homestead in Hamilton, Mass, where I'll be presenting and explaining my feelings of what took place while I was working on these beasts right here during the Vietnam War, the F-105 Thunder Chief. Thank you, Paul, for getting me this opportunity.
And that's at 2 o'clock.
That is 2 o'clock, yes.
Okay.
Dan Benjamin just sent out an edit on something. I don't know if he's listening in or what, so I just let him know that we're sitting in the meeting. Okay, thanks, David. Any other questions, concerns, comments about David's report?
Concerned
not-
about who we chose for Memorial Day, but we'll get
Yeah,
by it.
In my opinion, your presence epitomizes everything that Memorial Day is about. And, Gold Star families, Gold Star mothers, Gold Star wives, et cetera, are thankfully, not that prevalent in our society. So, your presence could also enlighten a lot of people that will be in attendance as to who you are, what you guys do as individually and as an organization. The fact that you're meeting in Boston this year is, perfect timing. So I think your choice is an excellent one.
Thank you for that. I'll do my best.
You always do. So I'll make a motion to accept David's report as written, well, with the edits that have been noted.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, motion passes. Thank you very much. The meeting is getting a little long already, and there are a number of things that in my opinion, we can probably put off to a future, Veterans Corner, Vets Field, Memorial, the grant program. Because I think, we really need to talk about succession, who, if anybody is interested to be in the chair, if we're going to continue having chair, vice chair, and clerk, we're going to need to shuffle the deck chairs going forward. So I'd certainly like to get to that. And then, we have about 6 weeks until Memorial Day. I think we're there. We have a speaker, we have a member of clergy. We have a number of people that have already said that they're going to attend. Some are still waiting. So, you know, with your permission, I'd like to move on to Memorial Day and then the new chair, et cetera, if that's okay with everybody. Because I don't think we have much to offer on those items anyhow. Okay. And I was speaking with David this morning. I think I did it when I was down in Florida. I reached out to like representatives of Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Representative Wong's office, Senator Lewis, Representative Lipper Garabedian, Mr. Mayo, Mr. Bankert at the high school. I will forward their correspondence back to me, to the board, so that we have their points of contact, et cetera, moving forward, so we can make sure that we keep them in the loop. And it's probably, you know, time to, you know, start thinking about how we're going to use the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, et cetera, given the history that we have in that regard. Okay. So I can't, one of the things I wanted to ask about, should we have a collation after Memorial Day? I mean, it's going to be probably 2:30 in the afternoon, you know, by the time we're done. Is that a time for coffee and donuts? I mean, it's a few less moving parts we need to worry about. One less room that the janitor, the custodian needs to think about cleaning, etc. You know, I think we've had them in the past, but I honestly don't remember. I know we've had them after Memorial Day.
We had it after Veterans Day, Jay.
Yeah.
Right.
Should we continue with that and hit Derek up again?
I like what you said about being another cog in the wheel, so to speak. I think after 2 hours or an hour and a half in the auditorium, that might be enough. And I think people don't want to get in their way, honestly. You know, so I don't think we need to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like we need. I hope it's a beautiful weekend. I hope we have a great crowd. It's time to get them back to their cookouts and things like that.
Right.
You know, someone's going to have to pick up the donuts and the urns and return them, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I don't care either way.
I don't think it's necessary.
No, this is,
Okay.
no.
I agree.
We're giving them a chance to drink coffee with the veterans every month, right? At the yacht club.
That's
Yep,
right.
no doubt.
Right.
That's a
No
good
doubt.
point, Robert.
Yeah.
No doubt. They want a free donut, come to Quantipower. Okay, good. Yeah. Anything else on Memorial Day that, you know, and we'll do, well, you'll do, someone will do, you know, publicity, newspapers, et cetera. You know, I know the state generally asks, the Department of Veteran Services generally asks leading up to Memorial Day, what the cities and towns are doing. Saugus is having their parade on the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend.
I'm going to be at that too, Jay.
All veterans are welcome to march in that parade. You do not have to be just from Saugus. I'm planning on being there to, you know, help the new guy that we have in Saugus kind of find his way through these one-offs that he hasn't seen yet. Because he's from Malden, so he hasn't been to any of the Saugus events before. So, okay.
Jay, is there the itinerary for that full day? You can send me a copy of that.
Yeah. I'll forward the script and
Right.
the itinerary for full Memorial Day ceremony. You know, the one thing that just popped into my head is wreaths. It's probably, you know, we've always done wreaths to the best of my knowledge. No, in my memory, we've done wreaths every year. I think we get 13 of them. You know, it's always kind of been a struggle. Where do we find the monies for that? But having just talked about the patriotic, what do they call it again? Patriotic Ceremonies Fund. The monies could certainly come out of that every year. You know what I mean? That's
Okay,
what it's for.
how much do we normally spend per wreath roughly?
Well, last year, historically, we had preserved magnolia leaves from Parker Florist down on Lincoln Street or whatever that street is near the parking lot. They've just been green. You know, they're very impressive. They're a couple of feet wide, but they were like $2 each.
Jesus, how did we do
And-
that? We did 13 of those? Where did we get
Yeah.
that money? 2,600 bucks? Is that
Yeah,
my
I mean,
math right?
it was always a struggle. You know what? You know, we found a line item in David's budget. Saugus doesn't do wreaths. You know, I kind of talked them into doing one at the wall that they have in Central Square, because the Veterans Council runs all the parades in Saugus. They have the money to pay for it. I know Wakefield and Saugus, I think we got, I don't know, something like 25 wreaths between the two. A couple of years ago, Christy worked with a friend of hers, I think it was Kendall Florist. We got some relatively inexpensive ones, but they were kind of artificial. They didn't last very long. You know, but like you just said, Rod, that's a lot of money.
What about
Wow.
one good sized wreath that we have at the auditorium, then we place it at the memorial on Veterans Day after?
Well,
Or-
as you recall, we've done that before. We had, and one thing that we didn't do last year is we didn't have the gold star. We would get a wreath and a, you know, I don't know, like a foot tall gold star that we would put at the World War II Memorial. And during one of our ceremonies at the Galvin, we had the Girl Scouts kind of work with Tom Collins to present them at the front of the stage. Then I think Marion and Christy took them down to the World War II Memorial and placed them there.
Right.
You know, we could certainly do that. You know, if I see Karen in the morning, I'll ask her what she's thinking of as far as wreaths go. Given her plan, she may not be thinking of wreaths for Melrose, but I'll see what her thoughts are on that. You know, we've always found the money, but I think to Rob's point, they are kind of expensive for a relatively short time frame.
I kind of like Dave's point.
Me too.
I think it preserves the meaning and the ceremony around the day. And you know, that kind of feels like the minimum that we should do, you know what I mean? Get a nice wreath. We can go local, we can go down to Parker, see if they can make something. I actually went to them last year with just like a picture of a wreath that I got online. You know, because the ones that they do at Arlington and places like that, they're like 3-foot wreaths. They're pretty large. And, you know, the larger you get, the more expensive you get. So
How long does the wreath stay up after Memorial Day?
now, in the past, I've gone around and picked them up, you know, when they start looking ratty and they're all over the place, I pick them up and retire them. So I don't think that there's a set time period. I just, when I go through the square, well, when I used to work for a living, I would go through the square every morning and look at the flags on the common, things like that. If they needed to be adjusted, I would. But I don't think there's any given time period for how long the wreaths
Well,
are.
I compare that to the Christmas wreaths that we put on at the cemetery on the graves.
Yeah.
They're there for about 6 weeks or so before they get picked up.
Yeah.
I don't think the wreath after Memorial Day is there for 6 weeks.
No.
Yeah. So to Rob's point, $2,600, for something that's there for maybe 10 days, is quite a bit of money.
And one of the things we did last year is Karen Burke, the Melrose VSO, found some wreaths online, let's say through eBay. I don't know where she got it. And when, they never matched the picture, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when she got them, she had to customize them such, and they degraded very quickly. So, we'll figure that out. And if nothing else, we can just have one large and hopefully a little bit more impressive wreath that we can put at,
I
have
kind
it,
of go one large one.
have it part of the ceremony at the Galvin, and then respectfully move it to the common and have another laying there. That
Yep.
certainly
Yeah, I think that's the
sounds
best
reasonable.
idea.
Okay. And the royal, we will find the money somewhere. Okay, how about board leadership? Where do
Hold
we
on.
want to go with that?
Before you proceed, Memorial Day, last year, we did the reading of those that were fallen. Is that something that we want to do again?
It was very well received based on the feedback that I got. There's certainly no harm in doing it again, but I will leave that decision to others who are planning the event.
Didn't we have like some of the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts read off a group of names? They may have done 20 each or something off the list.
I broke the list down to 21,
Yeah.
our nation's highest honor, and I passed those lists out to different people that were in the audience that were willing to read. And it was a good way of getting audience participation in the ceremony. And 21 names is not it doesn't knock you out. I mean, if you're going to read,
I think it certainly fits with the meaning of the holiday.
Yep.
And, points to the fact that the sacrifices that were made by townsfolks. And, again, I talked to the kids a couple of years ago about those 104 men that are memorialized outside the doors of Veterans Memorial Auditorium. We go by that to vote, to go to basketball games down that hallway, but how many people actually stop and look at it? Yeah, I think it's perfect to have it again.
Yes, I agree. We should do it again.
All in
I think
favor?
that was great.
All in favor, aye? Yep.
Uh,
all right, so we do that again.
And I think to Dave's point, we could, generally the Commonwealth comes out with a proclamation from the governor's office for Memorial Day. We've had students read it in the past. That's something we could offer to a Girl Scout, Boy Scout, whatever have you. And we could also offer them up some names to read. My only fear is we're going to get some third graders or something like that won't be able to reach up to the podium. But even if nothing else, you can have the members of this board do it. And, if we have, we can certainly figure that out.
Yeah, that's what we did before. We had members of the board and plus Paul asked people that were attending in the audience to read the names too.
You can nab people going in the door. We
Yeah.
can, if we get, I think Representative Lipper Garabedian has confirmed her attendance.
Good.
She would, I feel pretty confident that she would be amenable to reading some names.
Representing town council?
No, she's your
No.
state representative.
Oh, state, I'm sorry, that wrong group.
Yeah.
That's what happens
I
when
don't-
you, that's what happens when you go to talk to your congressman, okay?
It's catchy.
Yeah, because she actually came to the Wreaths Across America in December.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, all right, cool. And I'll get all those names out of the people that have reached to, and I'll get the agenda and script out also. Okay, so regarding the leadership of this band of merry men and women, do we have anyone that's interested in assuming the position of chairperson?
Oh, look how everybody's jumping forward.
David was just pointing to his left. Maybe he's seeing the same screen that I am. Again, I assume the chairmanship because, in the past, nobody was really,
Can we nominate somebody?
that certainly is appropriate.
I'd like to nominate Paul Cancellieri.
I second that. Well,
Yeah.
first we have to say Cancellieri. Cancellieri.
Ancillary,
I second that.
you're making it difficult.
I think that's a good choice.
Agreed.
All in favor?
Well, I mean,
Aye.
we're all in favor, but he can always say nay, nay.
I know.
Nice try, Dave.
No, he can't.
Well, and Christy was on earlier too, but she dropped off.
Yeah,
She's been serving as the vice chair. I honestly don't know if she intends to continue.
we could wait till we have to ask her. We could still nominate the chair and just
Yes.
hold that position till we find out from Christie.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, do you have any interest in continuing as clerk?
Sure, I don't mind doing it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so,
Position, Paul?
Hmm?
Did you say yes, Paul?
Did Paul say yes?
Yes, Paul, did you say yes?
I think I'm muted. You guys are
Oh.
you're making this very difficult, but with Rob as a clerk, I might be inclined to continue and perhaps step up to another level of incompetence.
Peter Principal.
Thanks. That's right. Not too many people know what that is anymore.
Can we rename the position secretary, by the way? I'm not offended by it, and I think the member who was is gone. That's the role, right? It's the secretary of the board, right?
yeah, all right, let's go with that.
Right.
Paul,
So if
you-
you'll have me as your secretary, Paul, I'd be happy to.
I would most definitely have you as a secretary. You're very good. And actually, that's a promotion.
Yes, I'll be coming to the board for some of that 2,600.
Yeah.
And I'll stay as the VSO, Paul, if you stay as the chair.
You're the best, Dave.
Gee, thanks, David.
Okay, sounds good.
That a good, yes, Paul, you're
Thank
in.
you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Rob.
Jay,
Any
you're a
other,
good-
any other business?
Jay, you provide big shoes to follow in, you know that.
Yeah, it's, it has certainly been my pleasure.
Yeah.
To do it for however long I've been doing it. I think that the board, as it's currently constructed, has had more energy and has gotten involved in more things than the boards that have preceded it. And I think that's a testament to the people that are on the board. I think we have some members that obviously must be having some meeting conflicts, but so we need to run that to ground to see what their future holds. Because next year, I think we mentioned this a couple of meetings ago, there are, I think, 7 board positions that all expire in April of 2023. And a few years ago, we staggered the terms so that it was more of a gradual turnover, if you will, than having, 70% of the board turning over in the same year. But it has truly been my honor. And like I told the people in Saugus, I'm not going away. I just can't be as involved in a host of things as I have been in the past. So I need to free up some time somehow.
Well, we're
And,
gonna miss you, Jay.
Miss ya.
Well, and the life puts things in perspective.
There it
You know
is.
what I mean?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
You know?
Yep.
All right. No other business?
No, sir.
No,
sir.
we have,
We'll make
I
a motion. to
I
adjourn.
have one
Oh.
point of information or request for information. Are you going to be at the Memorial Day ceremony in Wakefield, Jay?
I believe that I am. I can't say 100% what I'm going to be doing to day after tomorrow, but I believe that we will be in town. We don't have anything planned on that weekend yet. We will be in Maine the week leading up to it, but I think we'll be home for that weekend.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much.